A very good day to all of you out there. This is Admav here with another episode of Admav's Corner. Welcome on this Friday, the 26th of May, 2023. I hope you're all doing well today. May has been quite a long month. At least that's how it's felt to me. I've had some time to contemplate on what I wanted to talk about in this episode of the podcast. And so with that, I'd first like to congratulate my friend Raven and his partner on their first child on the way. These are blessed and exciting times. Change is in the air, and that change is what's made me think about what I want to express today on this podcast. It's gonna sound like I'm going off on a tangent, but just bear with me. Every year since 2015, my main group of friends, who to me are basically my family outside of my family, really, and I've mentioned that in previous episodes of the podcast as well, we have a Secret Santa get-together. And in recent years, it's more than just a get-together. It's basically been a kind of retreat for all of us. We don't see each other too often throughout the year, especially the last few years. So this is a vastly important time for all of us. It's a time where we get to spend moments together, especially since it's really hard for us to really see each other nowadays. And so this has been the best opportunity for us are those Secret Santa gatherings. But it's not like we don't see each other through the year. It's just that in recent years, it's been dwindling down, it feels like. And that's because, we're all in that phase of life. We're all in our 30s, and I know it's still young, and my perspective changes every time I get another 10 years older and leave the previous decade behind. But we're all well into our 30s now, and one of the things that really started to sink in when I spent time with them in the last Secret Santa retreat that we were at in December of 2022 was that, and I've felt this since then, so it's been a few months. It's been like 6 months or 5 months, I think. 5 to 6 months between there. I've had this gut feeling that, as I've said earlier, changes are happening. We are entering the next phase in our lives, all of us. And it feels like things are shifting. And honestly, it's made me feel a little bit sad, and it's made me want to reminisce. So basically, I've been feeling a lot of sedage lately, and many of my friends know that is basically my favorite feeling and emotion. It's not something I want to feel all the time, but it's one of my favorite feelings. It's just one of those things where if you don't know what sedage is, it's basically a Portuguese word that expresses this sort of longing for things that have passed, for what's happened before. But it's not just sadness, it's also a little there's a little bit of joy in there, because you're reminiscing and remembering the great times that have passed, and you're sort of longing for those years, and that's sort of what I'm feeling now, or what I've been feeling since. Like there's just this, it feels like there's this impending feeling that everyone's just going to go their separate ways. We've been a tight-knit group for so long, since basically elementary school, because some of us met a little earlier than grade 8, but I met everyone at grade 8, or most everyone in our group. Some of them, or one of them, GR, someone I've mentioned in a previous podcast. I've known GR since I was a child. Since we were very young children. He's like a little brother to me, basically. They're all my brothers, But yeah, things are shifting, and I feel that. And it's good. Change is good. It's scary. It's always one of those anxiety-inducing things when you're going through major change, when things are changing. You're not used to it, but that's a very normal reaction to change. When things are changing, things are new, and when things are new, it's the unknown. It's unknown to you. But a lot of the times, change is good. That's how life is. There's an ebb and flow, and I always talk about that in these podcasts. There's an ebb and flow to life. And things constantly shift, things constantly change. They don't always remain the same. It could go on for years, and then you get used to it, and then when things change, it feels a little bit weird. At least that's how it feels to me. I'm very happy for Raven and his partner for their child. But yeah, it's sort of triggered that emotion in me. That's a Dodge. But yeah, it further reinforces that feeling I've had since the last Secret Santa gathering, and it's really made me think about living in the moment, being present, which from anecdotal experiences from friends and family that I constantly or consistently have conversations with. It's something that I think a lot of us tend to look over or forget, and it's vastly important to stay in the present. And the reason I say that is because when you're experiencing the moment, as soon as the moment happens, it becomes history. It becomes the past. You've lived it. It's done. And when you're not present, when you're not experiencing the moment fully there, appreciating it, understanding what it is, and realizing how fortunate you are to experience even the most mundane moments, it's gone. It's something you can't take back. And when you're unable to be in the present, years from now, even months from now, but for further to that, years from now, many years from now, you look back and you wish you were more present, because all of a sudden another 10 years has gone by and you can't rewind time. You can't go back in time. It's an uncanny feeling. But learning to be present, learning to be in the moment, that's something that can really help you appreciate life a little more. And it's hard for us to do that because there's so much that we have to attend to. There are so many obligations, anxieties, things that we have to think about on a regular basis that take our attention away, that draw us away from being present in the moment. And even me, I'm not perfect at it. I'm still learning. I've gotten much better at it, but I'm definitely still learning to be better at being present. And it's something that I'm continuing to do my best to try to be aware of, because I want to be in the present. I want to appreciate every single thing that passes by, even the most mundane, because life is so short. Life is so short. For a long time within our group of friends, there was really only one friend in our group that had kids. Everyone else didn't have kids. Now that Raven and his partner are expecting a child, it really has reinforced that feeling, like I said earlier. And even myself, I'm going through changes as well. I know it. It makes me a little anxious, but I welcome it. Change is good. You don't stop growing. As you get older, even though it doesn't matter if another 10 years has passed, you don't stop growing. And for growth to occur, for growth to happen, changes need to happen as well that go along with that. Change isn't quick normally. Things can change quick at the drop of a hat, and it's hard to adjust when that sort of thing happens. But change is always happening. And many times it's necessary, because you need to grow as a person so that you're better equipped to deal with life, and you're better equipped to be a better person in the world that you live in, for your friends, for your family, and for your greater community, if you can handle that. But sometimes we forget to appreciate the journey. Sometimes we forget to be in the present, because we just want to get to that growth point. Like, we want to just grow now. And we're just so focused on that. And we tend to forget all the little things along the way. We tend to not be in the moment. I'm not a master at it, and I don't really have many tips on how to do it. I'm a fairly relaxed guy. I'm a fairly easygoing guy, though sometimes I'm not. When especially when plans fall through, it irks the crap out of me. But other than that, I'm pretty easygoing, and I think that helps with my being able to appreciate what's in front of me right now. That wasn't always the case. It took a lot of struggle throughout the years, through my 20s. But I learned to appreciate even the most mundane things. Even just being able to wake up to work again, being able to eat another meal, being able to spend time with friends, even though it's not a big, gathering, even though it's just going over to watch a couple YouTube videos and have dinner or something like that. Those are all moments of import, at least to me, because they feel important to me. You give value to whatever you feel like is important to you. No one has to set that standard. And these things are important to me. The time I spend with the people that I love, the time, the energy I give off to the world, the love I'm able to share, the light I'm able to share. Those are important things to me. And you got to find what's important to you. And that takes a long time. And these are topics I've mentioned before. But along the way, getting there, try to be in the moment. Just pause for a second, take a deep breath, think about where you are, what you're doing, who's in your life, who loves you, your ability to be alive, to feed yourself, to shelter yourself. And I know that some of us don't have a fortunate situation where we have shelter, we have food readily available, and we don't have to worry about our next meal. And it saddens me, but it's a sad reality of the world. And unfortunately, individually, we can't fix it. But as a community, as a global community, we can try to make it better by affecting those immediately around us, because it can have a ripple effect. So just remember that at the end of the day, we're all going to the same place. We all, at one point in time, and it differs for everybody, we all, at one point in time, will need to face our inevitable mortality. Our life is finite. And even though it's longer than most animals, most creatures on this planet, there's very few other species that live longer than Homo sapiens. But even if you're fortunate enough to get to the average of maybe 78, 80 years old, that's short, man. That is short. Oh, like I mentioned before, my friends and I are over 30 now. We're well into our 30s. And not far from 40. And then that's it. We're halfway through. So it's not about regrets. It's not about like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's, at least for me, right? I can confidently say I don't really have many regrets. I don't really have many true regrets. But it's about living in the present, because being present allows you to appreciate life a lot more. And when you do that, you can really enjoy life for what it is. It's just it's a bunch of little things. It's a bunch of little moments that just keep passing us by. And so that is why I keep talking about mundane moments, because even those are important. You only have a finite amount of times you can take a breath. Even as simple as something as taking a breath. And just to add on to that, for me at least, what I like to do is, and I've mentioned this before as a way to check in on myself, which is also very important, but checking in on yourself actually helps you be more present. And I have self conversations. I talk myself through like I'm my own best friend, which I am. And I'm able to be in the present more. I'm able to remind myself and reset and sort of get back to that center whenever I need it. And sometimes I'm not as successful. Sometimes the outside world, outside pressures, outside stresses and anxieties, they make their way and then they weigh me down a bit. But that's okay. It happens. We just have to hang in there and see ourselves through. And then we can do our best to reset and live in the moment. Memento mori. It's a Latin phrase that translates to remember death, or remember you must die. And that quote is something that I've always remembered it, because that is an inescapable destination for every single human being on this planet. We are all headed there. One day we will all get there. And we don't know when that day is. It's sad because some of us will get there sooner than others. And I always hope that everyone gets to the maximum potential of their life. But other than that, we just have to deal with what's in front of us. And that's why it's so vastly important to learn to be able to be in the quiet, be in the calm, take a step back, reflect, and think about what's going on at this very moment, what's right in front of you. And realize that while life is short, it is filled with so many amazing moments. It can be filled with so many amazing moments. Of course, there are also times when there's not so amazing moments, but those moments allow the better moments to be elevated. It's a balance. It's what makes life beautiful. It's what makes life worth living, going through all of this, experiencing life, experiencing love, experiencing loss, experiencing growth. And throughout all those things, if you can get yourself to be as present as possible, life ain't so bad. Have a good week, everyone. I'll see you next month. Take care.